Hi everyone and welcome back to the Chromatic Knits podcast. My name is Michelle and this is my place on the internet where I talk about all of my yarny adventures. You can find me on Instagram as chromatic_knits and on Ravelry as Chromatic Knits. I'm so glad to be back. It's been a few weeks and we'll get into why that was and why I didn't podcast, but some things came up. Life, it happens. But I'm back now and I have some things to go over with you all. So, first thing I wanted to talk about is kind of why it was delayed. So, first of all, I got sick. So, I was sick for like a little bit over a week. I'm still recovering from it now, but I feel a lot better. I'm on medication for it and it's been getting a lot better. So I can finally talk without having to like cough my life up every 5 seconds, which is good. We're getting there. Another thing we did was we adopted a kitten. So kitten/cat. So he was actually outside of our friend's apartment complex and he was getting chased by dogs. So he just randomly showed up for a couple weeks, and like at night dogs in the area would chase him, and some of the other tenants in his complex would let their dogs out and they would chase him. And he's clearly been in somebody's house before, like he's clearly domesticated. But yeah, so we didn't want anything to happen to him, and he was very sweet. And my partner went out there and went to look at him and he just curled up in her arms. So we have a cat now. But he got very sick and he was sick when we got him. We didn't know that at the time. We took him to the vet. They did all the normal tests and said that he was negative for like FIV and leukemia and like heartworms and like all the big things that you worry about when you get a cat. And especially when you have other animals in the house. And he tested negative for all of that, but then he started getting, like, he was sleeping a lot more, he was having trouble jumping or getting around, and finally his back legs just almost stopped working completely. So we took him to the emergency vet, and he was there all weekend. He stayed overnight Saturday and Sunday night. He had a high fever, like it was a lot. But he's doing a lot better now. He's still on some of his medication as well. Actually, we're on the same medication. We're both on doxycycline. But we're just finishing up his medication. He is getting a lot better. He has a lot more energy. He's not sleeping as much. He's eating. He's doing all the things that he's supposed to be doing, which is great. And to the point that now he's constantly screaming for food. So he's got to make up some of that. Plus he was underweight when we got him, as you can imagine, being a cat that was most likely dumped, without, a source of food when they didn't have to learn how to hunt. So, so we've been giving him a lot of like kitten food that's higher in calorie to get him to gain some weight back and get some of those muscles built back up. So he's coming along, but it's been a couple weeks, so we've been dealing with that as well. He won't come up here. He's never been up. So where I podcast is upstairs, which is where my like office area is for work, and he's never gone up the stairs yet. So he's a little bit kind of iffy about it. And we do have another cat, and this has kind of been his domain. So yeah, so I don't know if you'll be able to see him up here at some point. He is an orange and white cat, so his legs, like it looks like his legs are just like dipped in white paint, and then the top of him is just like orange and white together. So, but he's very cute. His name is Henry. So my partner named him Henri. I don't know. I can't say it. I am legit the worst at French. So I just said, I'm going to call him Henry, and we're just going to have to deal with that. And then I did get the nickname of Enrique approved as well, which is the Spanish version of Henry. But we're going to hold off on that for now, just Henry. But with all of that going on, and just, being stressed and worried and not sleeping because I was sick and I kept waking myself up through the night and stuff, I didn't have the energy or the motivation to do a lot of knitting. I just didn't feel like it. And I actually did get really into reading books again. Like, growing up, like, I was constantly reading books. And then I got really into music. And then I just haven't read books since college, really. Like, for fun. Like, occasionally I would, but it would take me, like, forever to read them. But, I mean, I've read, like, a lot of books and reread multiple books over the last couple of weeks. Because that's just all I had the energy for, was just to, like, lay down and be sick and read. Or lay down and be stressed and read. So, yeah. But we'll get into that more in the life stuff. But anyway, so because of all of that and all the stress and being sick and all of those things, my knitting mojo just kind of tanked for a while, and I just wasn't well enough to do this, and just, we had a lot going on, was worried about, was calling the vet every couple hours, the emergency vet, to check on Henry and see how he was doing, if he was doing better or worse or what have you, so that we could figure out what we needed to do with him. So, yeah. But anyway, I'm back now. And things are good. Henry's good. I'm doing much better. We're getting there. Moving on. So, quick yarn update for the year. This year, I'm just going with balls of yarn. So anytime I finish an actual, like, cake, ball, whatever, like a unit, whatever, skein, however it comes, we're just going to call all of those balls of yarn, because I don't have the mental energy to deal with it. So far, I have used up 4, and I've brought in 1 for this year. Actually, I lied. I brought in 2 for this year. So, used 4, brought in 2. So, a net of 2 going out of stash. So, that's really good. Excited about those numbers. That's great. Onto the knitting. As far as that goes, I only finished 1 thing since the last time I saw you. I finished mitten number 16 of this is Kathy Lewinski's mitten advent calendar, and I'm making this out of Knit Picks palettes. So each mitten is a color work mitten that you work on, and then there's one for each day, so you can just pop like a little sweet or something else little in there. So I made one for my partner that I do every year, and then I'm making one for myself now, and then I'll make one for one of our friends has also requested that. So that's the only thing I've finished in the last few weeks. I almost have a hoe. So I was trying to do 1 pair of socks per month. That obviously did not happen in February with everything going on, but I did get most of the way done with a sock. So I almost have a hoe. I just have a little bit more of the foot to go, and then the toe. But I have the leg. So here's the leg. It's upside down. So I have the leg done, the heels done there, and then part of the foot. So I just have to finish the foot and do the toe. So I'll probably knock that out this week and start on the second sock. Yeah. But this has kind of been my go-to this week, just because it's so mindless with all the just knitting in the round for the leg and for the foot. So just while I wasn't feeling well, it's a good thing. Plus, it's so nice and so bright and cheerful. Like, these are like almost highlighter colors. They're so bright, which I really love, because I really just needed something, something bright and cheerful. Love self-striping, would highly recommend. I always do magic loop on size 0 for fingering weight, because my gauge is super loose. So I gotta, I do vanilla socks. I use the heel that the crazy sock lady uses on her vanilla socks. I do like that heel. And then I do magic loop because that's my preference. Size 0. So sometimes I do 60 stitches on my foot, which is what I'm doing in this sock. Because again, my gauge is super loose, so I have to make up for it somehow by reducing the number of stitches and by making my needle smaller, my needle gauge smaller. So that is what we're doing this month. So I'm hoping to get this completed and get it done. Hoping to get like the first one done this week. We'll see how that goes. Recently, so this week, for some reason, I also just got in the mood to do my Geogradient shawl, which I'm not complaining about at all. Because I really need to get this done. Not that it's like on a deadline, it's been lingering for forever. So I finally finished the rest of, so from there to the end of the first side. So it's like this is part of clue 3. If you made it, so this is the first kind of wing off the side. So I finished the rest of the first wing, and then I started the second part of clue 3 on this side of the shawl. So I've starting here, going on from there, because this is very, again, memorizable, kind of meditative. It's just knitting or purling and slipping stitches in the same pattern over and over again until you get to the end. So it's pretty memorizable and pretty easy and just mindless. So again, one of those knits just, in the round, or this kind of mindless knit has kind of been my go-to for the last week or two. Just trying to get my knitting mojo back together, So sometimes that's what you gotta do. You just gotta pick something that's easy. So my goal for this, again, I'm gonna be finishing this year. That's the goal. Finish it in 2024. Because I still have my shawl from 2022, my mystery shawl that I haven't finished yet. So I need to finish that too. Because I wasn't sure if I liked it enough to finish it. But now I've decided that I'm just going to finish it. So, yeah. So that's coming along. Working on that with a couple of my friends who started it with me, especially my friend Tina. She's been working on it a lot, at least not recently, so that's very exciting. And I love these little narwhals. If you have not watched me before, I am a huge fan of Charmed and Dangerous shop. Might have a lot of them. Just maybe. But I wanted one that had kind of like, some flowers and some growth going on, some ivy. So adorable. Plus it matches the yarn, which makes me happy too. So in case you haven't checked out Charmed and Dangerous, I would highly recommend. Let's see. And just to let you know, in case I haven't mentioned it recently, I have made an adjustment on this shawl. I have a Nugget here. You might see him in a second. Hi, bud. That's our cat that we've had for a while. Hi, bud. Yeah, he's a 3-year-old baby. We got him when he was a baby. Yeah, you good boy. But this shawl, I have taken the needle size down one size so that I could get better gauge, because again, super loose gauge. Don't know why, just do. And then in case you're interested, this bag is a Locatelli bag. I got it off eBay, so I don't know. I don't think she's making them right now, but You never know. All right. And then, is this the last thing? No. Second to last thing, I did a little bit of work on my basic Raglan sweater. So I've knit about an inch. So nothing too much to write home about, but... And this progress keeper is Simply Serving. In the Simply Serving shop, but I've got about another inch done. So that's coming along. I'm almost about ready to break for sleeves, which is exciting. But we will get there. And almost need to upgrade the bag that it's in as well, because it's almost outgrown it. And then the biggest project that I have is my corner to corner blanket. So this is just a baby blanket for my cousin. Again, another Charmed and Dangerous progress keeper. This is their Valentine's Day one that I got a year or two ago. I can't remember. Super cute. Love it. But yeah, just doing I'm on the decreases now, which is exciting. And I'm just doing the Grandma's Favorite Dishcloth, but just doing it as a blanket instead. So we're on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th color. I do have a couple rows of a different color here, but it's whatever. She won't know. And yeah, so that's coming along on the decreases now. So just need to finish it up. Keep it going. Don't want to drop any stitches. And I'm doing a mix of DK and worsted weight yarn on this one, so I'm just trying to use up some DK and worsted scraps and some, just colors that I had lying around that are kind of rainbowy colors. So we're kind of going in rainbow order. But that is all of the knitting that I have done in the last couple weeks since the last time we talked. So if you're here just for the knitting content, that is all that I have. Again, I'm going to be knitting some more now that my mojo is back. It's very exciting. And I have some ideas for some designs that might be coming out too. So keep in tune with that as well. But in the meantime, let's talk about some life stuff. So I talked about some life stuff at the beginning. We got a cat. He went to the hospital. I've been sick. All of these things. A lot. And then, like I said, I've been getting into books. So for those of you who don't know or didn't notice from when I said that I had a girlfriend, I'm queer. So I'm bi is the letter of the LGBTQIA plus all the letters that I choose to go with, but that I identify with, but queer is also good. And I don't know why, but just recently I've been getting into tons of queer romance. I've read Red, White, and Royal Blue I don't even know, probably a dozen times now. And what's the other one? The Unlikely Heir, which is a very similar but slightly different story. And the most recent one I just finished was Delilah Doesn't Care, or Delilah Green Doesn't Care, by Ashley Herring. She's got another last name, but I can't remember. But if you just look up Delilah Doesn't Care, or Delilah Green Doesn't Care, it'll come up. It's part of a trilogy. So I just got the other 2 books yesterday, and I'm really excited to get started on those. But what are the other ones? Boyfriend Material, Husband Material. Those are 2 books in the same series by the same author. Just really getting into those, I don't really need a brain for these books, because again, sick, stressed, just wanted something easy to just kind of pass the time, do the things, but also just relax and chill and read before I go to bed. and so that I didn't have to like remember 100 people's names. So those have been great. Highly recommend. Um, and I'm still finding some others to try as well. Thank goodness for Kindle Unlimited. Sorry, I feel like something in my eye. Kindle Unlimited. Oh my gosh, if you are a reader and you do not have Kindle Unlimited, like I don't know what you're doing with your life, but basically Kindle Unlimited lets you read like most ebooks that there are for like a monthly fee. So the monthly fee is like $11 or $12, and then you can check out as many books as you want and read them, and then you just send them back, and then you can check out another book, basically. So it's like a library that you pay for, but they're all ebooks. Because I know my library here. So, okay, so I have this thing about library books. I lived in Cincinnati. Cincinnati, Ohio has a big problem with bed bugs for anyone who's never lived there. And there are times where people will take books, they will check out books from the library, take them into their home that has bed bugs in it. The bed bugs will crawl up into the spine of the books, and then they'll bring the books back, and then someone else will check them out, and then they will get bed bugs in their house from the library books. And so I'm not a big fan of checking out library books after having that experience, because I didn't get bed bugs, but I know somebody who did from a library book. And it was not a good time. It was not a good time. Would not recommend. So since that happens, like I'm just not, and like my library that's local to me does not have an online library, like our ebook situation. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do Kindle Unlimited. It's just way easier for me. So I know that some people, they can get those books through like the Libby app and all of that. The other part of it is that I live in Arkansas. So Arkansas is a red state. Like super Republican, gun-toting red state. And I say that because there are some queer books or books about queer identities in the library, but there are very few, and people like actively protest against them. So against the library and against the library having those books. So it's tough to go to the library and check those books out when you feel like there are people who are protesting your ability to do that. It kind of is a safety issue in my eyes that, now there's someone that can track that you check that book out. So, and not everyone is going to feel safe doing that. I know that I wouldn't, personally. Aside from the bed bug thing, I wouldn't feel comfortable knowing that someone can track the fact that I checked a book out. Yeah. But, yeah, so that's how I'm getting those books. Super excited about it. I also grew up loving the story of Oliver and the musical Oliver, which is the story of Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. If you're not familiar with it, everyone has heard most people have heard the quote, like, please, sir, I want some more. That is Oliver Twist, okay? He was an orphan who learns to be a pickpocket, and his like best friend or whatever that helps him out is called the Artful Dodger, or Dodger, however you see it. And they're trained by a guy named Fagin, who's an adult who's training these kids to be pickpockets. And so Fagin provides them with like food and somewhere to sleep, and then they go out and pickpocket and bring the money back to Fagin. Is basically what the story of Oliver Twist is, and then all this stuff happens, and it's fine. Anyway, if you want to read the rest of Oliver Twist, go check it out from your library, or get a Google Unlimited and read it online, or Kindle Unlimited, not Google Unlimited, Kindle Unlimited. Anyway, but there's a show that came out recently it's on Hulu. It's called The Artful Dodger, and so again, Artful Dodger was Oliver Twist's like right hand man that was showing him the ropes of how to be a pickpocket. Um, and so the Artful Dodger is on there as a grown up. He's grown up. He's no longer a little kid that's a pickpocket, and Fagin has found him as well. So it's the story of what they get up to, and what they're doing. And the Artful Dodger he's a surgeon. So he was in the Navy as he trained in the Navy as a surgeon, and now he's a surgeon in, I believe, Australia is where it's set. And in the colony, it's when it was being colonized by England. And there's a girl who's the daughter of the governor who wants to be a surgeon, but she can't because she's a woman. And so there's this whole thing between the two of them trying to bring these new medical innovations to the new world. So it's really interesting. It's really funny. A lot of weird things happen, and they get caught up in little they have little problems, and they have like dilemmas that need to be solved while all this chaos, and then the politics of being a surgeon and all this stuff. So it's really interesting. I would recommend if you have a chance. It's like 8 episodes. It's like a mini series that they did, and I'm hoping that they do a second season, but they haven't announced anything like that yet, so fingers crossed. But would definitely recommend checking that out as well. So that is what I've been watching and what I've been reading. I've also been listening to, there's a podcast called Off the Menu. So it has 2 of my favorite British comedians on it, Ed Gamble and James Acaster. And basically what they do is they bring a guest on. So whether it's an actor or a comedian or someone else famous, they just bring on a famous person, guests on their show, and they just make jokes and have a funny conversation. But then they also talk about what would be their ideal meal, or if they could have anything in the world, what would be their like dream meal, starter, entree, snack, or no, starter, entree, side, drink, dessert. And so I think, Ed Gamble and James Acaster, in my opinion, are really funny individually. They're funnier together. And then, adding in the mix of whoever they bring into the show can really make some waves as well. So would highly recommend. There's one on there. There's a newer episode with Noel Fielding, which if you've ever seen, Noel just came out with a new show on HBO Max that's called Dick Turpin. But a lot of people know him because he was on the British Bake Off. He was the host forever, like for a long time on the British Bake Off. And then he also was on the IT Crowd, which is the other place that most people know him from. He was the vampire that lived in the closet behind the red door. So, vampire. But and he's shown up on a lot of other comedian things because he's a comedian / actor. So but yeah, so would recommend that one. And then the one with Sam, oh no, what's his last name? The most recent live episode is with Sam. I don't know, just go check it out on your podcast, wherever you get your podcasts at, and you'll see it. It's the most recent live episode. He's a comedian from Australia. 10 out of 10. The chaos, love the chaos that happens in that episode, would highly recommend. So those 2 are my favorite episodes so far. I've only listened to a few, but yeah, really funny. And if you haven't checked out who Ed Gamble and James Acaster are, you should check them out on YouTube as well. They've been on, seeing them on Taskmaster was hilarious. That's where I first encountered them. But they also have some like stand-up specials if you just look up their stand-up. Or if you look up like James was on Blockbusters and he didn't know how to play the game. Like it's great. 10 out of 10. Ed Gamble has some really good stuff from Mock the Week, and so does James. Um, that's really good. So yeah, those are kind of the best options for them. So if you haven't checked them out, would highly recommend. And I know James just came out with a new podcast as well. So if you just look up James Acaster, it'll come up under your podcast app or wherever you get your podcast from as well. So anyway, that is what I've been doing. That is what I've been up to, and that is what I've been watching and reading the past few weeks. That is all I have for this week or this podcast. I will see you again in a couple of weeks with some more knitting, hopefully, and hopefully some more recommendations. So anyway, in the meantime, I hope that you have a wonderful day. I will see you again in a couple of weeks, and happy knitting, everybody. Bye.